Hello, hello. Happy lunar eclipse, everybody. I hope that sorry, I'm adjusting my seat. I hope that you're finding some peace um in the energy. I feel like anyone really in their flow of their inner feminine energy under this Scorpio lunar eclipse has the potential to be feeling pretty good, right? At least being in accountability and ownership of like your truth and how you're feeling and being willing to do the deep like psyche diving, if you will, that Scorpio kind of represents. And it doesn't mean that like you're just sitting there like happy as a clam type of energy, but it could be what I'm hearing is movement, like a lot of movement, a lot of like maybe you're having releases like energetic or emotional releases, like crying and just feeling all this deep emotion, or maybe it's pain, but maybe it's gratitude, maybe it's love, just allowing yourself to kind of flow. The more that we allow ourselves to flow, the better this energy really feels in our body. And so that being said, this message is actually for the Divine Masculine Collective. I know we have a couple Divine Masculines in our group here, but I also know that so many of us are at such a level in these connections where we're in inner union with our counterparts. So even if you're a Divine Feminine, these messages will be helpful for you to hear, to embody, to resonate, to feel deeply, because you're connected to your counterpart. So even if they don't get to watch this video, they can still receive the messages and the benefit of it. So, but this has just been coming up. This has been on my heart. I've seen it in like personal relationships that I have, not with like Divine Masculines, but just with masculines in general, and kind of the energy that they're experiencing during this eclipse and kind of how they're feeling, as well as all of our inner masculine energies, the parts of us that want to control, the parts of us that don't fully love ourselves and are still kind of policing ourselves, or still, feeling bad about ourselves, or micromanaging, just being very judgmental, right? It's like all of the shoulding, when we should on ourselves, right? When we give ourselves these things that we need to do. It's so funny because depending on where you are in the spectrum, you either need to release your reins of control and you need to just be a little bit more in the flow and allowing. But then there's some where maybe you're more in the Divine Feminine spectrum, and you have been a little bit too in the flow, a little bit too like letting things go, instead of being in like some discipline and discernment and responsibility. Because I know recently I've been talking a lot about responsibility and discernment. And that's an influence going on right now, right? We can feel that in the astrology. But then there's this energy today, especially under this Scorpio moon, and especially with the moon moving in front of the sun for this eclipse. So we're able to really see all of our blind spots, right? We're able to, things that were in the unconscious previously are emerging to the surface. So now we can really see like full spectrum. And so then there's some of us where the masculine energies within us, or our masculine counterpart, is going through this process of really noticing where they're still trying to control, where they're still setting themselves up for, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve unless I do A, B, or C, the conditional love, the conditionality around love and acceptance seems to be coming up. And it's all kind of based on fear. And it's kind of this idea of like, are you loving who you are right now in the present moment, no matter what's going on? Or are you projecting into the future of who you're going to be, and getting so fixated and so focused on that you're so far down the line in the future, obsessing about details, obsessing and micromanaging the universe, and having fear, around how it could go, examining all possible options, examining all possible outcomes, or in the past, beating yourself up about what you did last night or 2 days ago or 3 years ago, or, you know what I mean? Like just really being like fixated on, I messed up. That's all kind of that masculine energy, right? And there's a real beautiful quality to both masculine and feminine energy, but when either are out of balance, it's not good. I was going to say it's dangerous, and I don't know why that was the word I heard that was channeled, but I guess obviously there's always potential for getting off your path and kind of making things harder for yourself than it needs to be. So perhaps that's the danger that was being alluded to. Okay. a lot's coming through today. So I may be sporadically on and off sharing things today, which is odd because typically under an influence like this, I would try and just kind of rest and chill, which I'll still be doing. I'm not going to get out of pajamas all day. I'm just going to be in my pajamas. So masculines, it's okay to not know. And it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to move in the flow. It's okay to get out of regimentation, strict schedule, strict rules, right? It's okay to throw the rule books out the window. It's okay to go strictly off of what you feel and to be in a state of not knowing and allowing. It is okay. Yes, you might feel guided to be more of a physical leader in your life and perhaps with your divine feminine. So you like to project into the future. You like to think of all the possible outcomes. You like to kind of plan ahead. You like to figure all this out. That's okay. But there's a way to do that in harmony and in relationship with your feminine energy. And you know what's coming through? It's funny, this came through for a client, but what's coming through is the process of intuitive eating. And I'm just going to use this as an example because it's a great way of how these two energies can work in beautiful flow with one another. Okay. And I posted those song lyrics the other day that were coming in so beautifully. It was like, I love how we flow. And it seems to be such a theme. Feminine's really holding it down for masculine as the leader and the example of how to flow in life, how to move with the energy instead of against it, how to be in a state of surrender and flow, but not lose their masculine protective energy either, to be working with that in the discernment and truth and responsibility, to be working together. It's just so funny how this is a theme. But so intuitive eating, right? You get the psychic hit, you get the intuitive hit. I'll give you an example. It happened for me the other day. I went into my health food grocery store because I was out of one thing that I wanted to get. And I was just going to go in, I was going to get the one thing. But I was like, I'm already here. I'm going to go look at, like, if you have a health food store, you know, there's like that whole section of like health food drinks and tonics and yummy like desserts, all these things that are obscenely overpriced, but they're just fun little treats every once in a while. And I have not indulged in any of these treats in a very, very long time. It used to be kind of a all the time thing. So I pulled back and it was like, okay, I'm not going to do this for a while. And it was the first time I'd done it in a while. And I was looking at all the drinks and I knew I didn't want caffeine. And I stumbled upon a drink and it just called to me. It wasn't because of the design on the bottle. It wasn't because of the color. It wasn't anything. So I just went through my discernment, my masculine discernment. Does it have caffeine? No. Okay. Does it have anything I don't want? Like, I was just kind of checking it with that masculine energy. But intuitively, I was feeling very strongly guided and called to it. I think it had like holy basil and blueberry was like the flavor. And I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. Then I started reading it and it said it had a bunch of collagen in it. And I didn't connect the dots immediately of like what that would mean. And so then it was marine collagen, right? And most of you know I'm vegetarian. I don't eat any meat. I very, very rarely will eat fish. And when I do, it's because of like a deep need that my body is like guiding me towards. And I'm fairly similar when it comes to, like, I don't do any dairy, but I do eggs and I will occasionally do cheese intuitively, right? I like try not to buy it or anything, but I'll, I'm not strict is what I'm trying to say. It's very intuitive. And so I go to this drink and I'm like looking at it and like, I'm just so guided. Like, I'm like, I need to buy this. Like, I need to buy this regardless of how it costs or how much it costs. I just need it for whatever reason. And then when I figured out what was in it, I realized there was a high amount of like wild caught fish, some kind of fish. I don't remember. And there was like a very high nutritional count and value of things that I don't always get in my diet being vegetarian. And so my body will really guide me in moments where I'll get like a craving. I'll sometimes get a craving for salmon and I'm like, okay, I need to go like get some salmon. And this is what was happening with this drink, right? And normally like the idea of having a drink that had like fish in it, like you couldn't taste it at all, but awful, right? That sounds gross, especially for someone who like doesn't eat meat. But I decided I needed it and like, it was just so guided and I brought it home and it tasted delicious and it really, really satiated and obviously filled a hole in my diet that I didn't even know I had until I had experienced it. Now, if I had been completely in my masculine, I wouldn't have stopped and even looked at that section, right? I would have been like, I'm on a budget. I know what I'm here to do. I'm narrow focused. I'm micromanaged on the items that I'm here for. I'm not here for anything else because this store is really expensive. I already have groceries from my cheaper stores and I'm just getting the things that I can only get here, right? That's a very masculine brain. So if I hadn't been working with that feminine at all, but then again, if I had been so deeply in my feminine, I may have, bought a lot more things, gone way more out of budget, or I may have even been like, oh, I don't want to get this because there's fish in it and that like hurts me and like I don't want to eat an animal. And you know what I mean? Like if I had been too in whatever, there's a world in which I would not have purchased it because of feeling bad or something like that, right? But in my like balance of the both, I was like, yep, I'm being guided. I'm intuitively getting this hit, just drawn to this drink, the only drink here, I bet you, that has fish in it. And then going with that masculine sort of discipline where I'm just going to get this drink, right? I'm going to get this and I'm going to stay on target and focus and whatnot. You get it. So this idea of intuitive eating, it's the psychic and intuitive kind of hit download, and then, which is the feminine, and then it's the masculine energy to follow through and take action, right? And move forward with it and stay balanced and stay in harmony. Cause it's like, for example, if that drink was like $40, right? I'm being whatever. Like if it was like obscenely expensive, my masculine would be like, let's find something else. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the balance, right? So this is something that seems to be coming up. It could be coming up for you as a feminine, but I'm really seeing this in the masculine collective right now. I'm really seeing this. Anyone who's really fixated on this is how it has to be. This is how I see it. This is who I want to be. This is where I'm going. This eclipse is really kind of bringing its medicine and teaching, and to say like, that's not going to work because new earth, this new template, this new way that we're living is very much in the flow, right? If you don't have the energy and you don't have the psychic hit download, which oftentimes is related to the energy, like the energy is kind of like the masculine, the Ace of Wands, right? But then the even psychic attunement to, oh, I'm interested in this, or I should do this, or I should search for this, which is the feminine. If you don't have those in balance, then you're really not going to be able to move in the flow because you're going to be so narrow-minded focused. You're just going to be walking into the store and missing all these things. And you could have actively been saying to your guides, like for just using this as an example, show me some ways to incorporate more nutrition in my diet. You could be manifesting something, but you're so narrow tunnel vision focused that you don't even see it. Right. And you're kind of in this dogmatic limiting way of living. And it could go the opposite end as well, where you're so just like overstimulated, like, ooh, like taking in all this stuff that you don't have enough discipline. You don't have enough. So you guys get it. You get these concepts. And for some reason, this just seems to be coming up. And what I'm seeing for masculines in relation to these connections, in relation to the counterparts, because every time I tap into the masculine collective, they are so narrowly focused on these connections and on their divine feminine. It's all they think about. It's all they want. It's like some of you have said things like, this is the only thing I care about. This is the only manifestation I even bother with. Like, I don't care about anything else in my life. This is like why I'm here. This is all I'm doing. We've all the twins have kind of come to this knowledge and come to this wisdom and really come into balance with like their truth around this. Like, this is it, right? So masculines are there too. And they are a little bit, some maybe perhaps, getting too narrow-minded, too narrow-focused, micromanaging, right? And so spirit is really working with them to surrender into the flow, to be in a state of allowance, to move with the energy instead of against the energy, or instead of questioning the energy or fighting the energy or trying to change the energy, right? So for some of them, they don't have the confidence to move this along in the 3D. But perhaps that causes them a lot of stress, a lot of burden. So you might feel that. You might be feeling that because you're connected and there's this stress and this. But the reason that they're not feeling that is because of these sort of devil energies that they're still working out within them, of the insecurity, of the lack mindset, of scarcity, of not feeling worthy, right? Of being a little bit too controlling and constricted in how they're moving. And like you feminine, that's not a vibrational match for you if you've really come into flow, if you've really come into a beautiful, humble state of flow. And then you're masculine, you both love each other and you want to make it work, and you want to make it work so bad, but you're going to be going like this with one another, right? So it seems like, and that's one example. Because some of you are actually really coming into like a beautiful harmony where you're moving and working in the same way. Yeah, because I don't want anyone to get into like attachment to what I'm saying here. This isn't really like a reading or like a channeled message necessarily, as this is just like a transmission of what I'm feeling in the energy and what it seems like masculine energy is kind of going through. So no need to kind of like put your situation on it unless it really hits, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense there. But so some may be feeling that where they want that energy to come forward and they're trying to fight it and they're trying to seek it, right? And they're like, some could be the opposite. Some could be the opposite where they're very much in alignment to come forward. But the second that they take a couple of steps, then they get in their head and then they start micromanaging and trying to control to make sure that it's the best possible outcome, because there's such a projection and attachment on the outcome and how this goes, right? And some are really like, either way, they're in this beautiful kind of dance with the divine right now where they're working through all this. They're noticing all this. They're seeing all this. So this is what's coming up. This is what's being healed. This is what this moon is really supporting and helping them with. And so for many, it is giving them the confidence and the knowing and the trust and the guidance to move forward. It really is doing what it's supposed to do. And that could be there could be steps in their life that they're being guided to take. There could be ways of being within themselves. There could be habits, there could be patterns, right? Because this lunar eclipse is going to be showing them their blind spots. So they're really noticing this. And then part of, I think, what sometimes has come up, the confusion for them is like, I would like to feel sure, and I'd like to be in this knowing and absolute faith and trust, and in the flow. They're like shooting for this outcome. Like, I want to be in the flow. I want to feel really good. And that's the energy I want to bring to my feminine, right? But what spirit has been saying for a long time now, and I think what they're starting to understand, and if you're a divine masculine listening, you're starting to understand all of your anxieties and all of your fears and all your doubts and all your worries and all of your what ifs are immediately dissipated, calmed, transmuted in the presence of your feminine, in the presence of the divine, in the presence of union, right? Because most of you've never been in 3D vicinity with your twin when the two of you have been in harmony, when the two of you have been balanced, when the two of you have been in an inner union state. You may have experienced the fleeting feelings of it for a moment in the honeymoon phase, right? Right after activation, right after recognition, but it may not have lasted for long. So there was always this feeling of kind of insecurity or like, uncomfortableness, like a discomfort in the presence of each other. But the thing is the divine is trying to say that you've eradicated that. That's what the separation has been for, is to heal all of that. So don't hold yourself back right now. Don't hold yourself back from what you're being guided to do out of fear that it could go wrong or that you could mess it up. And it's almost like in the presence of the action, because that's masculine, right? You learn by doing. You learn through the physical world. You take action before it makes sense. So don't limit your impulsivity. In the past, you may have had this impulsive energy that you have been learning and spirit has been working with you that made you feel like you really got yourself into trouble. You got yourself into holes. You married someone you shouldn't have married. You took a job venture, took a thing that you shouldn't have done and wasn't right, right? And so the divine has been working with you on that. Now, everything on a spiritual journey is nuance. There's no black and white. So it doesn't mean, okay, get rid of your impulsivity from now on. No, your impulsivity was your action, your activator to the divine, or your connection to the divine, feeling that and moving and acting and learning as you go. That is your process. That's unique to the divine masculine polarity. That's unique to divine masculines. Feminines work more in the energetics, right? Work more in the esoteric and the higher realms. So you don't want to like completely put your fire out, masculine, but you need to trust the work and the healing that you've been doing up to this point, that it's so firm and it's so strong that you can now move in the way that feels good to you, which is just impulsive, right? It is just taking action, but now backed up by this knowledge, now in harmony with your feminine, not at odds or against your feminine. And I'm talking about your inner feminine, but it manifests also as your external feminine, because before your impulsivity may have pulled you away from your feminine, may have put you at odds because your inner feminine energy wasn't healed. But now you need to trust that you've really been doing this work, and you're still a work in progress. You're not perfect, But a lot of your lessons, a lot of your understanding, the depth of your knowing comes from the presence of this person, right? There's so much unexplainable, inexplicable sort of energies that occur between the two. And there's so much healing that occurs between the two. And especially for you masculines, because you are the physical twin. So much of your journey has to be experienced physically, where the feminine can feel something is off energetically, and then she can take the actions and the steps without having any tangible physical proof in the 3D, if you will, right? So I'll use an example when it comes to money. So for me, I can feel, let's say I have like a subscription to something that I forgot about and I didn't know. I can kind of feel, oh my God, I feel like I have a leakage, like I have a monetary leakage or something going on, or I'll just feel like, you know what, I need to go check my bank account, and I'll feel it. I won't have any physical, tangible thing to show me, but I'll feel it energetically, and I'll go in, I'll be like, sure enough, I was just incorrectly charged for something. I need to call and get it taken off and deal with it, right? Whereas a masculine, it's almost through that physical act of opening their bank account and seeing the thing and being like, oh, and it's in the physical, it's like right there, versus feeling it energetically first. Okay. And that's just like a little tiny example. And it's not to say that we can't steal from each other's gifts and wisdom and kind of come more into a balance and harmony, and that masculines can't get better about feeling these things energetically. But it seems in their learning process, in the separation, their journeys, they're just way more physical. The things happen through the physicality. So that being said, the understanding, the knowing, the confidence, the truth, the sigh of relief, the pressure that's been building, and the release of that comes through the physical experience for you masculines, right? So there's only so much energetic ideating, learning, healing, learning in a vacuum, hoarding yourself off from the world and your feminine and being in your own little internal corner that you can do before you come to a place of like, it's time to put this into action. It's time to take heart and put this into practice, right? So, yeah, that's really the message, I think. That's really what's wanting to come through. It's like trusting that you're in balance, trusting that you've done this work and you've healed it. And you don't have to be perfect at it. Your feminine certainly isn't. You might perceive it that way, but that's just a projection, right? It's just a projection. I don't think if there's anything else, because this is such a topic, right? There's so many more. There's something about that impulsivity that's what I'm trying to work out. Just feel like there's more to that. Like, you have the desires that you have because you're meant to fulfill them, right? It's healing the desire, healing the energy of desire, because there's this big component where their masculine energy in particular has felt shame for the desires that they have, right? It's shameful to want that. It's shameful to feel that, right? But the thing is like, truth is feeling, and feeling is truth. Wow. Interesting. What I mean by this, let me explain. So my entire life, when I've had conversations with people, doesn't matter what they're saying, I'm feeling them. I'm feeling what their truth is. And so if their words are not matching what I'm feeling, they're lying, and I'm confused. Especially as a child, I'm confused. Children are often very good at this emotional maturity, or not maturity, emotional intelligence, right? They can feel when an adult is lying. It doesn't matter what words they're saying, and that causes them confusion. And that's why they start to gaslight themselves, and they start to condition themselves to stop doing that, right? So when you are in alignment with what you're saying, if your actions, your words, and everything is aligned to the energy that you're holding, people can feel that, and you become a trustworthy person, right? So masculines have struggled with this concept because they have thought that those feelings, how they feel, their desire, like they desire their feminine, and but then they feel like there must be something bad about that. There must be something wrong with how I desire. I need to be responsible. I need to be on track. I need to not be impulsive, because to give in to my desire, to give in to all this like goodness and how this feels, it's probably going to come back to bite me. It's going to hurt me in some way. And this honestly has a lot to do with divine sacred sexuality versus the worldly sexuality, the inversion of sexuality that we have, where masculines have had a really hard time, 111 on my clock, have had a really hard time understanding I might post this to YouTube, so I'm not going to say it the way I want to say it, that you can F God, that sex can be a divine, holy, sacred experience. It doesn't have to just be base motives, base desires, like the sacral root chakra desires, that it also can be this like deep, like holy thing. And like, how do I, because it's like, if my feminine inspires this like God energy within me, and I feel, and like, then I have to like make peace with what I think God is. And then I'm like, really, like, it's like all this stuff going on, like, but then at the same time, I really want to just like give it to this person good, like really, really have this like, sacral interaction with somebody, this very physical thing. It's like, how are those two things the same? And there's a lot of confusion, I think, that this journey has brought out, I should say, for masculine energy to kind of figure out, especially if some of them were with karmic energies where they like partners and marriages and things like that, where they had kind of settled for settling for one of those, giving up one of those things, right? So it's either just sacral, just physical, but I don't really feel a deep soul connection or like feel God in our lovemaking together, right? Or the opposite, where it's like, I feel like I really respect you and I love you and you would be a good mother, or you'd be a good da 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 da, but I don't really feel that like energy with you either, right? So it's like some form of a compromise that it feels like masculines have been almost taught, yes, you have to make this decision. You have to choose one or the other, right? You're either going to be a bachelor, you're going to be single, and you're never going to settle down because you just want to be obsessed with the sacral, or you're going to like sacrifice all this to be a good guy, to be a responsible, good man. And maybe you want children and you want all those things that come with that, but now you're sacrificing your desires, and you don't have desires until, for some, their feminine comes coming along like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then like, boom, world collides, like combust. Like, can't believe this person has both. And there's got to be some reason to be in shame here. Like, I should feel bad for some reason. Like, I should push this away for some reason. This doesn't make any sense. This isn't working. Anyways, I think we kind of all get it, right? But there's just so much there. It's so dense. There's so much to unpack in that. And I think for some reason that's coming through in this transmission. And so I think that this moon is bringing a lot of that sort of thing out. And I'm not saying, by the way, I am not saying that feminines do not have any work to do in this, right? There's so much healing around shame and sexuality and all this that feminines have to work through as well. Big time, big time, big time. Especially for feminines, it's a lot connected to, he only wants me for this, right? Like, if you're masculine, because typically that sexual drive with the twins is just so strong. It's just really, really strong that feminines almost tell themselves it's just sex for him. Like I can't believe that somebody actually, because a lot of masculines like to show their love physically because they have a hard time speaking it, right? And so the feminine has this wound and this pain from society, from the world, where like men only want one thing. And there's all this like need to protect your virginity, but not even just your virginity, like your, I don't know, you get it. You get what I'm trying to say. Your honor, I don't know, it's very old fashioned, but like a need to protect these things. And then if this person can't tell you how they feel about you verbally, but they always want to be physical and always want to be touching you, it's like, well, my conditioning and my programming just wants to categorize this in a way, and I'm automatically not safe. So now I shut down and I close up, and this, by the way, a lot of this happens unconsciously. Feminines don't even know that they're doing this. They don't even know that they're doing this. And so they kind of shut down, and they're actually like repelling and or pushing away their masculine, which is why I always say feminines run first. They run first, even though they don't think that they run, because essentially the feminines are going into this dynamic of they're like, prove your love to me, prove your love to me, prove your love to me, right? And that doesn't feel good. That only like scares the masculine more, where they're like, oh shit, like, what is this? Like, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't know what this is, and the feminines are basically both twins are putting, and this isn't just twins, right? This is a dynamic in relating and relationships, but both are trying to put each other through these weird subconscious tests that they've been taught and that have been modeled for them. They've probably seen their parents do this type of stuff with each other all the time, right? So they don't even know we don't even know we're doing this. And that's what these separations are for. That's what these journeys are for, is to like really have us face all of this within ourselves, to be like, oh my God, like, what is this? I know I said this was going to be a message for the masculines, but I realize I'm kind of covering both bases here. So, and to be honest, I'm realizing as I'm saying this isn't even just for twin flames. This is like people that are here on this earth, and part of their soul path and journey is about relationships. It's about relating, because you could take the sexual aspect out of what's coming through here, and it could relate to any relationship, right? Because it's all about conditionality versus conditionality, freedom versus contraction and slavery and feeling stuck and feeling suffocated, right? Feeling safe. Expansion, right? How can love be expansive? How can like you feel more devoted, more committed, more in love with someone, and free and expansive at the same time, right? That's true. That's true partnership, like and the way I see it, right? And I think that's part of what us as twins are here to teach, is like it's both, and it's not one or the other. It's all of it. It's the whole pie. It's the whole damn pie. Okay, you can have that pie or cake or whatever you like, cupcake, I don't know. It's really interesting. So like, I personally kind of just hate TV and think that TV sucks. And I used to love film and television. I mean, hell, I used to work in it. And I just kind of think everything sucks right now. I mean, there's been a couple good things here and there. If you like, never mind, I'm not going to make a recommendation. That's not what this is. If anyone's curious what I was going to say, you can comment and I'll respond, but I'm not going to do that here. But what I'll say is, because I'm so like, you know, there's so much that I'm not interested in, but so psychology I'm interested in. So like, I watch these stupid dating shows, and probably because my guides like want me to be learning and knowing what's going on out there and to touch in and whatnot. I mean, I know it's work, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, you know, it's relaxing, but it's also work for me, because I'm just analyzing and noticing so much. And these dynamics are so strong, that the attachment in this is so prevalent. What I've been discussing with the masculines feeling like they can't commit because it feels suffocating. And then because of that, they get into indecision. And then they're like floating, but they always know deep down. But the right choice is always the scary one, right? For them, because it means that they're gonna have to give up a sense of power and control, because then they can't fully be in control. Whereas if it's someone that they don't feel that as strongly with, they have a little bit more control. And then the feminines are always, their fear of safety is always what's triggered, right? The fear of, I'm going to be hurt, the fear of, because still in society, we still have all these programming and gross things about feminine are all they have to offer is their body, either through like motherhood or sexuality or whatever, like it's just your body, right? I know I'm talking a lot about normative relationships here, but I feel like these dynamics are prevalent regardless of your gender, because masculine polarity, feminine polarity, whichever one you hold, and then your partner holds, these things are going to be going on unconsciously, whether you know it or not. But anyways, because of that, the feminine still feels like they're the thing, at least on these types of shows. You know, these feminines are very focused on their appearance and their body, because that's like what they offer. So there's such a fear of, if they've given the goodies away, then they've lost control. So it's always power and control dynamics. That's really what's going on at the end of the day. And these twin flame connections, these true twin flame connections, are here to eradicate that shit, you know? Really, really, yeah. Anyways, a rattling of the ego is what I just heard, like a real awakening. Anyways, I've really gone on a tangent here. This was not an organized transmission by any means, but I guess that's me being in the flow and not trying to control and just being in it. So I hope something helped and assisted here, because this feels like such a prevalent thing that I'm seeing in the collective at this time. And it really, what feels like is being triggered is the masculine collective. And now we all have masculine energy within us. So it's our masculine energy. However, if you're really sitting pretty in your feminine energy, you're probably going to feel really good, just maybe pretty sensitive, pretty vulnerable, pretty open, pretty like, this is how I've been feeling. This is something that I've been hearing from my guides and like feeling in my experience. Open heart, open eyes. So my heart's very open, very tender, very sensitive, very, very like crying all the time for good, for like beauty, for pain, for all of it. Just really feeling the feels, right? But then very, very wide-eyed in discernment and truth and knowing and calling a spade and being able to be like, nope, 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 out of here, like just very open eyes, like not overly naive, not overly trusting, right? And I think that's a healthy place for all of us to get to, whichever, doesn't matter which polarity you're in, but just to really be in that place, Okay. This is a lot. I didn't know this would be long, but I might come back on here to give you guys more because it just feels like a lot's rolling out at this time. And I'm kind of, yeah. Okay. I hope this is helpful to you. Happy eclipse. Do something kind for yourself, nurturing, self-loving, nourishing. Oh, mother wound could be coming up right now. And so how are you going to change the game? Maybe the way that you mothered wasn't supportive, wasn't helpful. And it's not like in a blame game, not like, screw you, mom, no, it's just, okay, great. I'm an adult. How do I want to mother myself? How do I want to reparent myself? And how do I want to set an example if you do have children or if you wish to have children? Like, how are you going to change the game? Right. So that does seem to be a theme. And I think for masculines, that's an interesting energy to be like, oh, I can mother myself. Yeah, you can mother yourself. You can 100% mother yourself. And to be honest, that's actually what was missing. That's why you've been beating yourself up and feeling like you haven't been doing a good job in life, or like things have been, smacking you around. It's because you just weren't taught how to mother yourself. It wasn't modeled correctly for you. And most of the feminines you've engaged with and connected in your life we're also not the example because of said everything previously stated in this transmission, the fear, right? The fear, the shame, the scarcity, the I'm only my body, like all this stuff, right? All of the wounding, right? Sum it up, just sum it all up. Anywho, okay. That's it. I got to stop because if I don't hit stop, I will just keep talking. Thank you for being here. I love you all. Supporting this content means the world. It helps out immensely. But yeah, okay. Goodbye.